Welcome to your first class on Photoshop. Here you're going to be learning the basics of Photoshop. We're going to take you from beginner to intermediate to advanced level Photoshop editing. We're going to learn to work with images, work with flyers, and work with any kind of image on Photoshop. I'm going to start with an introduction. Of course, Photoshop is a pixel application. What does that mean? It means that Photoshop works with pixels are small boxes that represent one color in an image, right? Small boxes. So let me just give you an example. If I'm to open an image, let's say I have this image and I use the zoom tool to zoom into it. As you begin to zoom in, you start seeing small boxes, right? These small boxes you see in this image are called pixels. So Photoshop creates images using small boxes of specific colors. Now each box has specific colors. The next box beside it is a little bit different from the other one. Each box here has different colors, right? So when Photoshop brings this together, it forms a full image. And so when you begin to zoom out, you start seeing an image and all of that. So that's how Photoshop works. Because of this pixel technology, it can create high quality images more than many other applications out there. In this course, you are going to be learning how to use Photoshop to make your designs and to edit images. But whether you're a beginner, you're an intermediate, or an advanced level Photoshop user, this is a tutorial you would love to be part of. Let's get right into it. Alright, today we'll be looking at the interface of the Photoshop application. We'll go through the tools and a little bit of what they do and all of those things. So the target is that by the end of this particular class, you should be able to understand the application, where to find what and all of that. So let's get started. Personally, I like to divide Photoshop into 5 different areas. Now, that is the menu bar, where you find all your menus. You have file, you have edit, image, layer, type, select, filter, 3D, view, window, help. That is where you find major functions. Then there is also the properties bar. That is where you edit things. As in, the properties bar is a dynamic bar, right? It changes. What is on the properties bar changes depending on what on the tool you are working on, right? So that brings me to the toolbar. So there is a toolbar on this side, right? This is the toolbar. So this toolbar is where you have all your tools and all of that. We're going to come to that in a second. So you observe that as I click on different tools, the properties bar up here will change, right? So like this, it keeps on changing. So that is what it is like. Then there is also the I don't know if that's what it's called, but I like to call it the Windows area or panel area, because on this side you have all the panels, all your panels and all of that, or windows. For instance, if you click on window here, you're going to see all these are different windows, and you observe that layer is ticked here, right? So here you have your layers. Properties is here and adjustment is here. If you come here and check for properties, you're going to see it ticked here. If I click on, see, adjustment is not ticked. So, but if I click adjustment here and come back to Windows, adjustment is going to be clicked. It's going to be ticked. Then there is this last area that I told you that is this place, right? That's why I like to call it 5. This area, when we create a new document, as we're going to see in our next class, you're going to see the canvas, right? That's where you'll be working, right? Where you'll be doing your stuff and seeing what you are doing. Next, let's get right into the tools, having an overview of the tools. Now, the first one you have here is the move tool. This is the tool with shortcut. You can get to it by clicking on this tool or using the shortcut V. Now, every tool has a shortcut. So when you hover over it, you will see there is a bracket, an alphabet written in bracket or in parentheses. That is the shortcut for it. So by hitting the V button on your keyboard, the V key on your keyboard, you're going to go to the move tool. It's used for moving a selection or a layer, right? Then the second one we have there is, let me just say this. Now, when you get to Photoshop has many tools and variations of each tool. Now, these are the tools, but each tool has their own variations. So when you see a tool that has a small arrow beneath it, it tells you that there is something else inside it. For instance, now this is the move tool. There is another tool here called the artboard tool. It's still kind of a move tool, but it's more specific. it moves the artboard, right? So when you hit this, you begin to move artboard and all of those things and all. But I'm just going to talk about these tools as an overview, right? I won't go right in depth into showing all the tools one by one because they do almost the same thing, just a bit more specific. So the second tool is a rectangular marquee tool. That's to make a selection of a shape. Now the overview you are seeing here that shows you a picture of what it does, what it does. So you can click and drag over something to select it, to make a rectangular selection. The next one is the lasso tool. Okay, that's to make a freehand selection and all of that. If you click into it, you're going to see other tools like the polygonal lasso tool and magnetic lasso tool. All these things function differently and all of that, and for different use cases. We're going to get into all of that. Then there is also the magic wand tool, also a selection tool to select similar colored image areas, right? Then if you get into it, you're going to see quick selection tool and object selection tool, which we're going to look at in this course. Now this one is the crop tool. The first one is the crop tool, okay, but there is also perspective crop tool, slice tool, slice select tool. All this we are going to look at. Of course, as the name implies, it's for cropping an image. Then this is free frame tool, right? And all of that creates placeholder frames for images. Is that okay? Then this also is an eyedropper, our eyedropper tool. So if you hover over it, you're going to see samples colors from an image. Is that okay? So you can use it to sample. We're going to use all of these tools in our work as we go on. Then there is the healing brush tool, right? The healing brush tool repairs imperfections using pixels from another part of the image. Okay, so you can repair an imperfection. For example, someone has a pimple, for instance, there is a part of their face that is normal. You can use the place that is okay as a reference to repair that place that has a blemish or a pimple. And there are other tools inside it, that like spot healing tool, and all these tools have their own work. This one is, for example, spot healing tool removes marks and blemishes and all of that. There is the patch tool, content aware move tool, red eye tool, which we are still going to come to in the course of this tutorial. There is the paint custom brush strokes, right? And all of that. We're going to come to that. This kind of a brush, the brush tool. There's the pencil tool, color replacement tool, mixer brush tool, and all of those things. Then there is the clone stamp tool. Clone stamp tool. This is used to paint. This paints with pixels from another part of the image. So it doesn't really paint with colors like the brush tool would do. It actually paints with pixels from another part of the image, right? So it's mainly for cloning. It's like you want to clone someone, okay, clone something on this part of the image on another part of the image. You can do that with that. There is a pattern stamp tool also. Of course, we've gone into that, but it's more like working with patterns, unlike just taking something from one pattern, putting on the other. Now this one is a history brush. It restores parts of an image to an earlier state. Is that okay? So let's say you're working on an image, you want to restore a part of that image, you can go do that. There is also art history brush tool. It paints stylized strokes with pixels from an earlier state of the image. All right, so then there is also this tool, background eraser tool. Erases the pixel of a sampled color, right? Erases the pixel and all of that. There is the eraser tool inside that also, that changes the pixel to the background color, right? Or makes them transparent and all of that. So you just want to, as simply put, you want to wipe something off, you use this particular tool. You want to wipe it off entirely and all of that. So there is a magic eraser tool too. This one, I think if it picks on colors, right? So you can pick a particular color and it will help you wipe that area. So it says it erases similarly colored areas with a single click, right? Then there is this tool. That is the paint bucket, right? The paint bucket tool fills similarly colored contiguous areas with the foreground color, right? So you choose the foreground color, which I'm going to show you how to do that, and all of that. You can fill it a particular place with another color. If you get into it, you're going to see gradient tool for adding gradients, create gradual blend between colors. Gradient is a flow of color from one color to another. So this is the tool used to create that. Inside that, there is also the 3D material drop tool and all of that. This tool drops material loaded in the tool onto the target area of a 3D object. Don't bother about all of this. We're going to get into it in the course of this course. So at this point, if you have not subscribed to this channel, I would like you to do that already, because we have a lot in stock for you. So you do that so that you can be notified whenever we drop a video. Next on the tools is the smudge tool. All right, used to soften or smudge colors in an image. Right inside it is the blur tool. You want to make something a bit more blurry and all of that. This is a sharpen tool, the opposite of blur and all that. Then the next is the dodge tool, right? The dodge tool is used to lighten areas in an image, right? You can lighten some areas, make some areas brighter than it was. You don't want to add the brightness on every part of the image. You just want to do it on some parts of the image. You can use this to do that, as you can see in the preview, right? Inside you have the burn tool, which is the opposite of the dodge tool. You want to darken, right? You want to darken areas of the image and all of that. The sponge tool on its own is used to change the color saturation of an area of the image, right? You want to make the saturation lower or higher and all of that. With the sponge tool, you can do that. Saturation means the color, right? You want to make it more colorful or less colorful. That's what that means. Then this is the pen tool, a tool you're going to use a lot in this particular, you're going to use a lot in Photoshop and all of that. So it makes and changes parts or shapes with anchor points and handles. So you learn how to draw things out with the pen tool on Photoshop using the pen tool. These are all variations of the pen tool and all that. I'm going to show you how to use all of these when the time comes. And that is the type tool, right? The horizontal type tool. Of course, simply adds a horizontal text. There are other variations like the vertical one. There is the vertical type mask tool. There is the horizontal type mask tool. All these are for typing, but used for specific use cases and all that. In this case, it's for typing vertically, right? And all of that. So this is a selection tool, direct selection tool, right? It selects the individual points and segments of a part, right? And all that. Then there is the rectangle tool for drawing for drawing rectangles and all of that. Inside it, that is the rounded rectangle tool, ellipse tool, polygon tool, line tool, and all of that. Then there is custom shape and all of that, which you can draw shapes that are not anything. For example, a tree, animals, and all of those things. Then there is the rotate tool, right? The rotate view tool. This rotates the view of an image and all of that. And then there is also the hand tool. The hand tool is simply to drag, to move, like to pan over your image, or pans over different parts of an image, right? So there is also the zoom tool, of course, to zoom stuff, right? To bring it closer or take it further away from you. And then there is the edit bar, edit toolbar. This is used to edit this toolbar how you want it to appear. For instance, by clicking this, you can edit the toolbar the way you want it to appear and all that. Drag it around, bring this, or if you want it to be on top or something like that. However, I would want to leave mine as it is, and then press OK. Then there is also, when we talked about thing that was paint bucket, we talked about foreground color and background color. Now this is the foreground color, the one on top, right? As you can see two color boxes here. This one on top is the foreground color, this one is the background color. So set it like this. Yeah, normally it should be black and white, okay, and all of those. Then that's basically it for the tools. And as you can see, as you keep on hovering over these things, they keep changing. So when the time comes, we're going to give more attention to these tools individually and teach you how to use them on the go.